Welcome back to the Western Wild Channel. Today we're going to talk about our plans to build out our brand new Oru Designs camper. We've had our Oru camper for around 3 months now, and it has already been a game changer. For a deeper look at this innovative camper design, check out our walkthrough video, which we'll link in the description. If you do end up buying one of these campers after watching our videos, please let the Oru team know that Western Wild sent you. So what we're going to talk about in this video really applies to almost any of these shell style pop-up campers on the market. There may be a few things that are Oru specific, but in general, if you have a camper like this that pops up, wedge style, flat top, and has a empty bed with no build out to it, what we're covering in this video applies to your needs. Now, before we dive into our build plans, it's really important to talk about the importance of weight with campers like this. The main reason why you get a shell pop-up camper is to keep the weight down, especially when you're looking at a half-ton truck, mid-size truck, any vehicle that has limited payload capacity, and as burly as this truck is, we're really only working with a payload of around 1,400 pounds max, and we want to respect that as we go through the build. So what we're going to be working through here are a lot of the common issues that you might encounter with a truck top camper like this, and what are the most direct ways to solve them. Key benefit to this style of camper is that it's a blank slate. You have this empty truck bed to work with. You can do what you want. You can keep it light and basic as we have so far, or you can build it out and basically approximate a more slide-in style camper as well. It's up to you, but there's a lot of work that has to go in to make that happen. The first truck top camper issue that we need to address, that we talked about a little bit in our walk around video for the Oru, is dust incursion. When you have a slide-in style camper, the whole thing comes as one unit, it's sealed up, you don't have to deal with dust as much. When you have a setup like this, you are limited by the gaps that occur in the tailgate. And what basically happens is you're driving down the road here, is that a vacuum gets created, the air moving around the side of the truck is going very quickly. The air inside is not. It creates a low pressure zone and it sucks all of that dust into the camper. So step number one is going to be addressing that issue. The first thing that we're going to do is look into getting a tailgate seal kit. Soft-Roading the West had a great video on this. We'll probably produce our own. And basically what it does is closes up those gaps that are in the factory tailgate. Now, another solution that has been suggested to us many times in our Oru walk around video is to add some sort of a overpressure fan or vent in the front of the vehicle, or in the front of the camper body, that basically creates a high pressure zone in the camper to keep the dust out. This is something that we might look into after doing the truck seal kit, as a potential option if we're continuing to encounter dust. Really though, we've looked around on the market and there aren't too many obvious solutions available to do this. It would involve drilling into the camper. So it's kind of an item of last resort that we'll cross that bridge if we have to.
One of the other things that we really want to add is mosquito netting, or just general bug netting. As you can see, it's free pass through from the outdoors into the truck bed up into where we sleep, which is great in terms of livability within the truck bed. Not so great when you want a bug-free sleeping experience. So we're kind of kicking around a few options. The first is just a flat mosquito netting that goes from the platform to the other side of the camper. That would at least just make for a nice level seal off. The only problem with that one is that we can't stand up in here easily without bugs coming in and out, and we do want to have the livability aspect to the camper. The next option that we're considering is just doing a mosquito net on the front. So basically the entrance to the camper. That would seal off the whole area. It would be pretty easy to come in and out of the camper and not affect any living area that we have in here. It just gets treated like a screen door. And lastly, we have considered doing a mosquito net that starts at the base here and goes up to the ceiling so that we at least just seal off the bedding area in its entirety, and we can still come in and use this space to stand, to change, do whatever we need to do when we're not sleeping. So we'll see what we eventually decide on, but I think we're probably going to end up with the screen door option. The next thing that I think we will be DIYing is curtains for in here, or shades. We have 4 windows up in the sleeping area that right now we are kind of ghetto hacking with some cardboard and blue tape up by our heads so that we have a darker sleeping environment. But I am going to be purchasing just some basic blackout material with some double-sided adhesive and Velcro so that we can cover these and have a darker sleeping environment, which will be quite nice. Oru does offer shades for all of your windows as an option. We've just chosen for budgetary reasons to make our own for the time being. The other interior piece that we're going to do up in the bedding area is there's obviously no storage on either side of the camper for us to put, you know, phones, keys, water bottles, contact solution, what have you. So we're just going to be getting some basic netting bags to adhere in right around here. I might also be doing a water bottle holder on the other side of the window because that's a good place to put water bottles. And then we'll be doing bigger bags down by the edge of the bed and the windows to hold items like clothing, sweatshirts, anything for the next morning, or if we need to get up in the middle of the night that is slightly bigger and bulkier, so that that's not by our heads. So we'll be doing that on either side.
Okay, so lighting is another natural upgrade to add to these campers. We're pretty well set on doing probably USB powered RGB lights, partially because getting to pick colors is fun, but also because by using yellow and some other tones, you can actually reduce bugs because bugs don't see that lighting as well. LEDs mean that you're not giving off a lot of UV light or heat signature, also keeps the bugs down. We're not entirely sure where we're going to install these lights yet. The natural spot would be up along the roof here. There's some considerations with the Oru specifically in terms of doing wiring for that because you have to deal with these folds. We'll either work around that, or alternatively, we may add lighting kind of on the rim here, and that would be a spot that would be much easier to wire while still lighting up the space. All right, so moving on to the interior build out for the camper. Long term, our plan with this thing is that we want to make a more comfortable environment for our regular camping trips. We also both work remotely, so we want to have a space that we can hang out in the camper and get some work done if we're on a longer trip and want to work from wherever. And then, you know, if you watched our last video, we had big news that we have a baby coming in January. So we need to take this thing from being able to sleep 2 comfortably to sleeping 3. So phase 1 of that build out plan is going to be to build a simple bench setup. We're going to do that likely on this side to preserve the use of the window. And it really is going to accomplish a few things for us. You know, obviously it's a place to sit. It will eventually fold out into being a nice bed setup for our child. And then additionally, you know, one issue that we have right now is that there's not a lot of storage space in here. So what we're really looking at is building a bench setup with a fold-up lid. And we're not going to get wild with all of the little cubbies and drawer systems. You know, what I want for this part of the build is to have a spot where we can store shovels, traction mats, camp chairs, you know, any of the random stuff that floats around and that we also just want to keep in the rig all the time. I want it to be able to go in that space and have a contained place for it. You know, one of our philosophies, we're not really big on the concept of bolting a bunch of items onto the outside of the truck if possible. We want to keep it clean. You know, we want to keep it subdued. So having a spot that we can store that stuff internally and not have to think about it too much, it's going to make a big difference for us.
And long term, what we really want to be able to build out on this side of the camper is a little kitchenette. I am a big cook. I love being able to make nice meals for myself and Dylan and eventually our kiddo when we're out in the woods, and having an option when we're on bigger, longer trips to cook out of the elements is something that's really going to enable us to do things like the Pan American Highway or spending multiple weeks on the road. So long term, that's kind of what we're seeing for this side of the camper, is a kitchenette and fridge storage back here. The last interior upgrade that we're really looking at doing for the camper is getting some insulation, because we love winter camping and we'd like it to be a little bit warmer. We do have a diesel heater and an electric blanket, but having some insulation in here would be awesome. We're realistically probably a good year out from doing that, just because our baby is due in January, and taking a newborn winter camping is not quite on our to-do list.
So another major area for modifications is the roof of the camper. We chose for budgetary reasons to not have a fan installed when we bought it. I think long-term that's probably something that we're going to change, so that will occupy this back section right here. For utility purposes, with paddle boards, any toys that we have, we're also going to want to add some crossbars to the top so that we can store our gear up. Right now there isn't really a great tie-down system. I mean, you would think with a paddle board that you could just throw it on here and ratchet it down. There's not a good spot for that at the moment, so crossbars are going to make a big difference. And then lastly, up on the roof, we need more solar power. Currently we have a 50-watt portable solar unit that is really not cutting it for our power needs. So I think over time we're going to upgrade. We're probably going to install at least 2 100-watt panels on the roof. That way we have plenty of extra power. Even if we're parked in the shade a little bit with that much power, we should be able to generate what we need out of it and not have to think about it. Right now with the portable unit, every time we get out in a camp, we have to get it set up. When the sun moves, you have to move it. Having ample power on top of the roof is going to make a big difference for us. So that wraps up our Oru camper build plans video. We'd love to hear what you think. If you have questions about what we're planning on doing, if you've done a little bit of this yourself and have advice for what we should look into moving forward, please leave a comment. As always, if you want to see how this build turns out, watch our future adventures, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we'll have more great content to come. So thanks again, and as always, stay wild.